We just had a meeting with the DG, the Ministry of Agriculture DG, Datuk Lokman. He called us in front of the chicken and egg producers. You know what they say? There's enough chicken. There's enough eggs. And I got all my colleagues from Hypermarkets says, are you dreaming or what? We don't have enough chicken. You're only fulfilling 70% of our chicken requirement. You're fulfilling 20% of our egg requirement. And right across with that thick face, they can say, there is enough supply of eggs.
I'm Wong Xiaoning and this is The Breakfast Grille, a family business that started in Kota Bharu around the same time as this country achieved its independence, has now extended itself to be a wholesale and retail giant with 61 branches in the country. We speak to Datuk Wira Dr. Ameer Ali Mydin, the Managing Director of Mydin, about their strategy for growth, our government policies pro-business, and what legacy does this social media star intend to leave behind? Thank you for joining us again, Datuk. Now, Hari Raya is less than a week away. A channel check, please, on how business has been. Good, okay, or below your expectations in terms of sales?
Good morning. Good morning, and thank you for having me in Breakfast Grille again. I think the main thing here we got to look at is that what was your expectation? We hear a lot lately, of course, in the social media about the people, the Pasar Malam people, those who are opening booths at KLCC, opening booths at many places, Bazar Ramadan, and they think the sales have not been there. But for Mydin, for itself, sales have been good. Sales have been good. We are doing better by about 10 to 15% compared to last year.
Okay.
So that's good. That's good. But I think the story is not, of course, of Mydin. The story is about the industry and why are the Pasar Malam people, the Bazar Ramadan people are saying the sales are bad. I think we've got to look at a few things here. Number one is that we have a clash of back to school and Hari Raya. Right? So people have shopped for back to school. And that is, of course, the main priority for any parent.
Yes.
Buy your uniform, buy your book. And the paycheck is still the same for the particular week or particular month, right? So they spend most of their money. So that is one. So now how much money you got to spend for your Baju Raya? Right? So I think this is going to be a challenge and sales are going to be down for many players out there.
Is this also driven by the fact that, for context, the Mydin shopper is probably a B40 and M40 and what you offer is usually just essentials, necessities. So people are still buying that. Is that why your growth is pretty above average? Because if I look at Retail Group Malaysia, they only see about 4% growth this year for retail. So you're doing better than that, right?
We are fortunately doing more than 10. All right. So maybe we have bucked the trend. But that is basically because rightly we cater more to the B40. We have a lot of so-called Rama initiatives, okay, where you sacrifice margin. Work with the government to help the B40s. I think that positive vibes helps in business. I think you give back to society more. So, for example, for this year, say we sell about Baju Melayu, probably sell about 200,000 to 300,000 Baju Melayu for the season, right? We allocated 10,000 Baju Melayu, 10,000 Baju Kurung, adult, 10 for children, ladies and boys and girls, right? And 30,000 tudung. The Baju Kurung, Baju Melayu only for 30 ringgit.
Okay. Maybe they are lost leaders, but then in turn people come into Mydin and spend, right?
Correct. It's lost leaders, but to help, you can say it's lost leaders, but you're making a difference. You're helping people so they can afford it. And that positive vibes helps business. I think people got to look at this kind of things.
Okay, so you're looking at things more holistically. But Datuk, last year was clearly a tough year, right? We had inflation, rising transportation costs, higher wages, rental hikes, and even the cost of goods itself hitting new highs, while many businesses complained that they had no pricing power to pass on this to the consumer. Is history repeating itself this year? Are you facing the same challenges?
I think businesses complain all the time.
Yes,
right? That is their job to complain. You ask any businessman, how was this year? They say, last year was better. They always say that. But I think the main thing here is that please don't give excuses. You have been passing the cost to the consumers all the time. All right. We know things are expensive. That's why you have the so-called menu Rama for 5 ringgit because nasi kandar had gone to 12 ringgit. Obviously, right? Everything is expensive. But the restaurants are packed. Stop complaining. You're making money.
So you're saying everybody has to focus more on the volume game and be prepared to have thinner margins.
I think everybody has to be more positive.
Okay.
I think, no doubt, cost of living has gone up. Food is expensive. Everything under the sun is expensive. But the restaurants are crowded. They have 11.9% growth for the first quarter of this year.
Yeah.
Can you complain? You probably go back to 4-5%, but they can't be complaining. Hotels are full. I just heard. But hotels are full. They have been full before right here. All right? Stop complaining. But I think the main thing is that, yes, cost has gone up. And even though, I heard just now on your BFM, wages have gone up 3 times, but wages have not gone up high enough. Seriously, the labor shortage in industry is because the industry wants to hold wages down. I mean, I am the first one going to suffer if there's going to be another wage increase, right? But I think at the low level, we got to sort out this minimum wage story. And I asked the government, let's sit down with the industry. Let's plan. Next year, 200 increment. The year after, another 200. Don't just tell us
last minute,
hey, we're going to increase by 200. We die.
Okay.
Right? So let's plan. But we definitely need wages to go up because we cannot be a low-wage country.
Okay, we're going to come back to some of your suggestions for the government in terms of how to make it more pro-business. But I want to come back to Mydin. So will 2023 be a better year for Mydin's financials? Because I did a bit of checking. I had a look at one set of accounts from SSM, which is the Mydin Muhammad Holding Berhad. And consistently, revenue has been above 2 billion since 2018. But I also see losses every year since, except for 2019. In fact, losses for 2022 was 42.7 million ringgit. But am I interpreting these numbers correctly? Because there are a few other Mydin companies in SSM. So this might not be a real true picture of how Mydin is doing.
Well, we are in business. We know how to manage our financial losses here. There could be profit on our property side.
Exactly.
Right? And we pay taxes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it could be how we look at numbers. But no doubt there were losses. But we are positive. For our March accounts, we are positive.
So do you expect that, how much, is it the business going to turn around? Is it going to be profitable?
It has turned around. The business has turned around, it's profitable. Okay. The only thing is how do you convince the fair weather bankers that you actually turn?
Which you were once upon a time, Datuk.
Fortunately or unfortunately.
Okay, we will come back to that also. But let's talk about the profitability. I mean, really, is the money actually made from rental? And the reason why I ask you is because if I look at Aeon, right, your competitor, they also make the bulk of their money from being a property management company. Does Mydin operate a similar model with the malls that you also operate? I think there are about 18 malls currently.
Yeah, it's like this. Of course, we have the property arm, which makes money. It doesn't make that much money as Aeon, right? But I think we are now suffering seriously because of the property.
Okay.
Right. That's because we have some properties, we buy, we build, then we have REITs, or we have some old buildings that we're renting out. So during COVID, we suffered. Okay?
Yes.
REITs are REITs. You have promised them 7%. They said, that's your promise, Well, we couldn't collect rental from our tenants, right? So we lose money, and we can't go back to that so-called high rental. It is gone.
It's gone.
Okay, so from that so-called the properties, the so-called the REITs that we have, we are going to be making losses. All right. Our only advantage is that we do this 2.5 now. I think it's almost 2.9 billion for this year sales. We have increased by 500 million sales, just from last year to this year. Okay, so you can see things have turned.
Yes.
So the trading arm is very profitable.
Okay. So once you have a certain revenue, there are economies of scale that fall in, right? So, but help me understand this though. Why is retail so tough in Malaysia? If we look at history, DFI, which owns Giant, is exiting after 24 years. Tesco said, thank you very much, Malaysia, and sold to Lotus. So why is that the case? Explain this to me, Dato'. I thought buying groceries is a necessity. Everybody does it. Why is margin so thin? In fact, why are so many players losing money?
Seriously, the Malaysians have woken up. That's it. Now we have got the local players. See, originally, we were one of the first hypermarkets, the local hypermarkets, right?
Yes.
The others have woken up. So the others are more competitive. I actually don't look at those JFIs. seriously, as my competitor.
Is your competitor more like Econ Safe, NSK, ST
I didn't want to mention
Rosiam?
those names. I don't like to talk about my competitors. But yes, they are our competitor. The Econ Safe, the NSKs, the Sigis, the 99s and whatever. These are our competitors. I think because they are more agile, more local-centric, they can do what we can do. They can decide very fast.
But can't you also be like them? I mean,
Yeah, we are.
So you respond very quickly.
Yeah, we respond very quickly. I think the difference is their model.
Okay.
When we started, we followed the so-called the Tesco kind of clean, very nice, big space kind of thing. Plus or minus, right or wrong, it's all up to people's judgment. But now I think it's a bit tougher. So we are opening up new hypermarkets, but it will be the smaller models.
Okay, so
not the convenience shop, but a smaller hypermarket.
Okay, but what about control in terms of cost and inventory? Is that a top priority at Mydin? And I want to get a gauge on how much you control your business and keep an eye on things, Datuk.
Well, if anybody knows me, I'm a micromanager, right? I got 400 WhatsApp groups in my office alone, forgetting the other funny WhatsApp groups, right? I almost know anything that happens in Mydin under the sun.
Okay,
right?
And how do you manage though? Because you've got 62 outlets. Is it a lot to handle?
The bigger it gets, it's easier to manage, seriously. It's only the first or second outlet that is difficult to manage because you don't know the processes. If you got the processes in place, things just move.
Okay.
I don't have to worry about going to the shop, opening the shop. Those you go, you have to open your shop, close your shop. I mean, I can take off whenever I want to, seriously, because things run.
Okay.
Things run.
So what's your relationship then, though, with suppliers to get the best prices? Because that's something I hear a lot of complaints about from retailers, that they are then, they're forced to take these goods at higher prices. Do you have a better relationship?
I think all of us have the same relationship. The MNCs are the most difficult ones because they're too big.
Okay.
They're too big. And they control, and they want their margin. This is what they want. They want 20%, and that's what they will get.
And there's no negotiation?
Hardly any negotiation.
So does this mean that you are considering maybe having more of your own brands on the store, which we see globally a lot of, like Tesco, Sainsbury's, they push their own brand. And we also see that here locally. Giant is pushing it. Is that a strategy?
We have a lot of own brands. We have more than 100 OEMs in Mydin. It's just that you will not see the word Mydin on it. Because we are wholesalers. Okay. That's the difference. So you cannot be selling wholesale Mydin and then the retailer buy from us and selling in their store. So that's the difference. But we have more than 100 OEMs.
Okay. And how attractive are OEM pricing versus, let's say, MNC pricing? I'm curious. How much more money do you make then? Would that make a difference towards a loss, from turning from a loss to a profit?
I think it's more like this. We make better 3 to 5%, but better 3 to 5% is a lot of money, but we also can sell much lower than the MNC products. I think that is the thing here.
Now, Datuk, I want to talk about that competition, the people that you don't want to mention. Be it ST Rosiam, which I found out opens 24 hours, NSK. But is the real competition actually the small modern formats? And you've alluded to this, right? So the likes of KK Marts, are they really giving hypermarkets a run for their money? Is hypermarkets facing a structural decline, which is why you're also considering smaller shop formats?
Hate to admit, but that's the truth. Right? Convenience is going to be the main thing here. So we will have to actually change the formats. The bigger ones are not going to work.
Okay.
Either you have big shopping centers, big malls, you have the mid-valleys or the pavilions, or you start focusing on just small where people can go in and come out.
Just grab it and
right.
leave.
So we have the convenience shops, right? The so-called the 99 and KK Mart. But they will not have the depth. They only sell about 3,500 SKUs. We sell about 70,000.
Okay.
Right? So people still need to go for once a week, 70,000 kind of thing. So now, but to make it more efficient, how fast they can go in and come out, get what they want, and also we want them to sit down at the nasi kandar and have the drink, right? We are human, so we want that full experience.
Okay.
So I think it works.
How many are you going to open though? Because currently you do have 47 Mydin mini marts and about 8 My Marts. Is it that format or will it be a brand new format?
It is a smaller hypermarket. You probably will 50, 60, 70,000 square feet. I mean, it's not that small.
Okay.
But our current one, 500,000, 1 million square feet. So considerably, it's much smaller.
And Datuk, what is your gauge of market share? I'm very curious, because Are you number 1, number 2, or 3 in the grocery market? And
Number
really,
3.
what's your number 3?
Yeah.
So who's the biggest boy in town?
Probably Lotus.
Lotus at the
Yeah,
moment.
huge. Then after that, of course, is Giant. We got EconSafe almost. I think we are neck to neck with EconSafe now.
And what is your strategy to compete? I mean, do you have a target to be number 1 and number 2 in 3, 4 years' time? Are you going to compete on pricing, be the cheapest?
I think the world has changed. All right, it has to be competitive. No more the cheapest. It doesn't work, and people want to see how much you give back to society. I think that is important. Customers don't decide only on pricing. They say that what are you doing for that community? We will shop at you. We will not shop at your neighbor.
Oh, that's an interesting observation.
Yeah, because I think the world has changed. The younger generation. You see, you can compete only to a certain extent. But the chocolate drink is going to be the same price almost everywhere. You have a promotion today, they have a promotion tomorrow. So seriously, pricing doesn't work. But you cannot be going to high pricing like some of my other competitors, right? So we have the so-called everyday low price. We compete on everyday low price. But I think it's going to be service, what kind of experience they can get, and what you give back to society.
What about e-commerce? There was so much buzz about it during COVID-19, and even you have an e-commerce site. Or has everybody gone back to brick and mortar, and now it's really a segment that many businesses don't consider too much?
I think many have gone back to brick and mortar, but e-commerce is not going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's going to be there, but it's going to be a certain percentage of your total, right? I think more like is how fast you can get customers to come in and go out. The experience is very important. So you have self-checkout, you have information that goes to them. They actually, what is happening more is people just tell you, I want to buy those things. Can you get those things ready for me?
Okay.
Right? And then, but vegetables, I'm going to choose my own. The fish, I want to see my own.
So it's
so
the dry
they don't want,
goods.
so they can buy the rice, sugar, flour. Just get it ready for me. I'll come down, look at the other part, and then I'll go out fast.
But for that to happen, then, what is the automation level like, or the AI like at Mydin, or the data that you compile? Is that how you're going to make a difference?
Correct. I think you'll be surprised is how much data we have and how much we use. Of course, we don't have robots going around.
Yet.
But actually, we use data. We are quite in the forefront for this. We got self-checkouts, which people hardly use, seriously. But we've got to force people to do this. I think this is the main thing. Not to worry, I think the government is not giving enough funding for the bigger players.
But do the bigger players need funding? I mean,
why not?
You're profitable, your revenue
but
is
our
almost 3
rates,
billion.
you see, funding in terms of banks, look at, I want security, I want this. You can't fund your softwares, You can't fund this self-checkouts. It's expensive. Just to do one self-checkout will cost about $150,000. And we got 40 counters in one hypermarket. So can you imagine how much money only for that? So it's not cheap. So we have Bank Pembangunan. I think the government have told them to do this. I think they are there, but I think they need to be more agile, look at businesses and, try to help them in terms of automation. Government talks so much about automation. They say funds are available, but sometimes they're going down or to the SMEs. Always focus SMEs. They forget the mid-tier. The mid-tier is the one that's running the country, right? Not necessarily all the SMEs. The SMEs just a number, 970,000 and all that. But seriously, the mid-tiers are the one.
Okay, so Datuk, let's talk about the government then. And congratulations on your appointment as co-chair of Pemuda, which is a special task force to facilitate business under the Ministry of the Economy. Now, Datuk, what are your suggestions to make this unity government then more business-friendly? I mean, we probably don't have time. That's its own show. But maybe your top 1 or 2 suggestions.
No, I think for the last 1.5 months, we have a lot of engagement. Number one is, we have first the private sector, then we have private and the government sector, where we sit together with the minister himself, and we try to balance things. Talking to the civil service, of course, when we have consultation at that very top level, that's a good thing. KSN wants things to move faster. When you talk to the DG, the KSU, yes. Okay, but all of them say, come, please help us. I think that's a good part. So Pemuda's job is with MPC. We try to see what are the processes and try to make it easier. Because somehow we are so bureaucratic. And when it's bureaucratic, money. You have to pay toll many times to get that toll move faster, right? So And government is aware of this, and they are actually asking for help. And this is our job.
Okay, but do you think this unity government is listening to you, but will they take your suggestions and put it into policy? Because talk is cheap, right?
Of course, and all politicians are very good at it.
Yes.
But I think we see the will in the Prime Minister. We see the will. We see the will in KSN, very important. They are listening. But I think it's very hard, but it takes time. We have to convince them. You can't just wake up one day and say, oh, we have off the switch. No more foreign workers for you. How can you do that? Somebody just invested in a restaurant, renovated it, and now going to apply and say, oh, sorry, we just off the switch because you have met the global 15% of the workforce. There's something wrong here. So Pemuda is looking at it and telling government, you cannot do this.
So
can you imagine you just off your electricity and say, sorry, we have reached your this and there's no more power for you for the next. What are you going to do? You cannot just do that. We're trying to tell them, you cannot.
Okay, so
have a heart.
So is the number one suggestion policy clarity?
Very clear, and you cannot off and on switches, cannot use some kind of excuses, right? Why didn't you tell us earlier? So I think we're coming up with numbers to say like, okay, for this sector, this percentage, and this is how it should be done. They are listening. But we really have to knock sense into people.
Do you think this unity government is a little bit more open though, compared to previous governments?
Some ministries.
I
am old timer, right?
Yeah, okay. You would have seen.
I think
all sorts of
some ministries are. Some ministries have not opened up yet. I don't know why they're so shy. I think comes out in so many ministers don't have enough media press coverage to tell them what they actually do. They could be doing work, but in this world, you have to be seen to be doing work. Unfortunately, then only people will know.
Okay, and I want to talk about price control mechanisms because you're often in the press for this. So we have price control mechanisms for chicken, egg, sugar, flour, cooking oil, and I just named a few, right? Should market interventions like this be removed, or even APs in the case of sugar imports? Will it change things and ensure better supply?
I have never advocated price controls, all right? Price control mechanism must always be there during disasters. There's a war tomorrow. There's some banjir, floods, and maybe businesses might take advantage. That's when you come in. Failing which, you should let it go because market. But get rid of the cartel. I cannot believe those cartels. You know what? Chicken used to be cheap in Malaysia.
Yes,
all right?
Cheapest, one of the cheapest proteins.
And chicken is cheaper in Thailand. We just had a meeting with the DG, the Ministry of Agriculture DG, Datuk Lokman. He called us in front of the chicken and egg producers. You know what they say? There's enough chicken. There's enough eggs. And I got all my colleagues from Hypermarkets says, are you dreaming or what? We don't have enough chicken. You're only fulfilling 70% of our chicken requirement. You're fulfilling 20% of our egg requirement. And right across with that thick face, they can say, there is enough supply of eggs. It's shocking. How can they say that, You lie to your teeth, And the DJ is looking at this. The right, they say there's no goods. And the left, you say there's goods. Come on, tell me the truth. And of course, we're telling the truth because we are the one facing the riot. You go to the stores are empty. Buy your eggs early.
Or you have to buy the premium eggs, unfortunately, right?
You see, that's what they're doing, basically, right?
Yeah.
The total production is in excess by 45 million. But they're producing so when they give numbers, smart fellas, right? You say, enough production, excess production. But they don't tell they're producing more omega eggs and the poor suffer.
Datuk, I might be giving some secrets away, but you're 67 years old this year. And as we know, this business was started by your late father. And from what I read, you initially didn't want to join the family business, a banker of choice, till you decided to go back to the family business in 1989. Why the change of heart? And maybe do you still have some regrets?
No regrets. Being 67 years old is no secret. It's available everywhere. I don't hide. But just don't ask what's my wife's age, obviously. I think when you work after a certain time, you always feel that maybe you should do something, right? There was, of course, a reason which I don't want to say why I left the bank. It's just an integrity issue, right? So we leave. We leave when we think that we need to do things that we're not happy with, right? So you leave. And And I'm happy. I mean, of course, it was tough. But you balance your risk. I tell entrepreneurs, balance your risk. I had my wife, thankfully, working, earning, 2 kids. So I said, on my wife's salary, I can survive. So I can take the risk. So it's everything is a calculated risk. Calculated risk is the main thing here.
Okay. So
and marry your right wife, lah. I mean, success of an entrepreneur is marry the right woman or man, lah.
All right.
Because you need her support. She has to be there, and she is the one making all the sacrifices. And on the book, on the Mydin so-called the Untold Story book, which she wrote obviously, but you got my photo on it, right? Everybody said, wow, you are the man. I said, no, I'm not the man. There's a woman behind who wrote the book.
So behind every successful entrepreneur is an even stronger woman. Words of wisdom.
She wouldn't like that, She said, I'm not behind you. I'm with you, together with you.
Okay, but running a business is hard enough, I think. But a family business is probably even more challenging. You have 3 siblings. How hard or easy has it been? Especially, you aren't the oldest, Datuk. You're the second. So, and yet you're in charge.
Well, my elder brother, has been kind enough to let me to be the voice. I think it's very important that the elder brother says that you have certain capabilities probably in his eyes. He said, why don't you do all the talking? But he's very strong in business. He's just behind the scene. And my other younger brothers, sometimes they are the chef, They know what's happening. So, in any restaurant, the chef is the most important.
But how do you resolve conflict, though? And I'm sure there has been conflict.
There are conflicts all the time. We have lunch almost every day, except fasting month, together. Not with the brothers alone, but even with our nephews.
Okay.
Because, blood is thicker than water. Brothers can resolve it. The elders will say no, and everybody listens. We are from the old cultural traits, right? But now we got nephews, and so a bit tougher. But I think they have respect for the elder, which is important.
So what's next for Mydin? Who's going to run it? What's the succession planning there, though? Is it going to be another Mydin in the hot seat? You know what?
Definitely not my children, because they are not in the business.
Okay.
They don't want to do this kind of business. This is crazy, But my eldest brother, 2 sons are there. They're 45 years old, man. Come on, So very capable. So I think the main thing about running family business is that you divide and rule the British way. You divide. You are in charge of this. You manage this. My eldest brother manages property. My younger brother manages certain parts of the operation, I do all the talking only, right? So
I'm sure you do more than the talking, Dato'. Somebody has to ultimately...
I do the TikToks.
Yes.
TikTok, okay?
But somebody has to actually ultimately call the shots and make the final decision, right?
Yes, but it's correct consensus, but I think finally, if you have to make a call, I make a call. But I think the younger ones are also in it now more, okay? So am I worried about succession? I'm not. Seriously. I'm not. Nowadays I even go back at 4 o'clock, go for a walk at 5 o'clock. So I'm not worried. Because I think the people are there, the experience, my nephews and nieces are excellent. They'll manage.
Okay, so likely the next generation will take over.
Of
Another
course.
Mydin will be CEO of Mydin Holdings.
Inshallah, we are not politicians. We don't want to be here all the time. We're not power crazy, seriously.
You know when to call it.
We know when to go before they tell us to go.
Yeah, you don't need to have it my way all the time.
No, but I think the main thing about in business, you can always be there. Like my late father, he has always been in business until the last day. So, they will let us do something, sit in one shop or, manage something. And I think that's also important. You don't want to just retire and stay home and watch Netflix, right?
Yeah, but Datuk, why hasn't Mydin gone to the capital markets, like for a listing and IPO, like
Why?
So many of your peers?
Why?
You can
There's so
raise
many
a lot of
vultures.
cash.
There's so many vultures out there. But like you said, bankers are kind. They lend you money, right? You don't have to go
Not
out.
always. They sometimes take the umbrella when you most need it, though.
They do. They do that too. But I think going to the capital market, of course, at the end of the day, one day you need to do that. But there's so many compliances, so much headache, we only worry about flexibility.
Okay.
Flexibility. You are not agile enough. You got to report this. You look at the building. They say, why are you looking at the building? You can't just say, I'm just looking at the building. They say, are you buying it? Then comes a letter from SC probably. Say, why? So I think this is the thing. Eventually, of course, but you list not for anything, but for transparency.
Okay.
So
not a cashing out exercise.
It's not a cashing out thing. I think the others who come in, we are coming in, I call them vultures. They come in 5 years, they cash out, they go out. That's not business.
Are you talking about the private equity funds?
Of course. Of course.
Because they've been very active in the retail space. I mean, we have Navis, which owns Food Purveyor, the brand owner of Big. And we also saw some notable deals like Jaya Grocer to Grab. So, Datuk, would Mydin ever be for sale? Because let's be honest, Datuk, everyone has a price.
Of course.
What is your price?
Of course. What's my price? My price is for sale after I'm gone.
Not while you're around.
No, I don't think so, because I love it so much. It's like having your own wife, your own children, you know. You enjoy what you're doing. Why? We're not here to make money alone. What is money?
Okay, so money making
but
money
the
is
business
important.
is making money, it's giving you an income. You sell it off to somebody, right? But what's the purpose? Why? If you're happy running it, right? Unless you're saying that, I cannot compete anymore with the industry, I better let go and then going is good. Yeah? Then you go.
But have you had some attractive offers which made you
Many
think
times.
twice?
No, many times.
Many times.
But I love Mydin too much.
So no price
As
at the
much as I
moment.
love my wife, I love Mydin too.
She might not be very happy with you later on.
Well, she
Datuk.
always says, I'm your second wife. Your first wife is your business. So I don't blame her for that, because that's my life. You know?
Okay, so Datuk,
She's also my life. Huh?
that is nice to hear. Datuk, if you had a young entrepreneur come to you and say, I want to start a business, what would you say to this person?
Go and work first. Never start a business. Go and work.
Have a taste of the outside world.
You better learn the ropes. If you want to open a hypermarket, go and work in Mydin or my competitor. If you want to open a restaurant, go and work in a mama restaurant, whatever. Learn the business first. And learn it in 2-3 places. Whether you think you want to open a restaurant, go and work, suddenly realize, my God, I want to open a restaurant. Seriously.
Okay, and what would you tell the person never to do in business?
Don't be overly dependent on your banks.
What about government subsidies? Do you think you
Never
should
be dependent on subsidies. I just hate the word subsidy. Seriously. We should never subsidize. We should open up the economy. Why subsidize every Tom, Dick and Harry?
So you never benefited in any way?
No,
Datuk?
the government hasn't given me any money. I don't get any subsidies. That's why I can talk. If I was benevolent to the government, you wouldn't call me on BFM.
On that note, thank you for your time. I look forward to your next TikTok video, just like the rest of your 412,000 followers. On the Breakfast Grille this morning was Datuk Ameer Ali Mydin, Managing Director of Mydin Holdings. I'm Wong Xiaoning, BFM 89.9.
Thank you.